Welcome to A Nice Place to Podcast, a City of Fountain Valley podcast. Join us each month as we discuss all topics, fun, informational, and educational, that's related to Fountain Valley. We appreciate your support and thank you for watching.
Hey everyone, I'm Glenn Grandis, the mayor of the City of Fountain Valley, and welcome to episode number 4 of A Nice Place to Podcast. I'm really honored today. We have a great guest. I'm excited about this. We have our Chief of Police, Matt Sheppard. Welcome, Matt.
Well, thank you, Mayor. It's a pleasure being here with you.
I appreciate you taking the time. So what we're going to do today is we're going to talk a little bit about the police department, you know, how it runs and just some general questions about what the police department is doing for our city and items that are coming up. So first off, let's hear a little bit about yourself. So, Chief, what made you go into law enforcement?
Well, originally I was in the construction field, and I was managing a construction firm with a bunch of employees and a pretty good-sized budget. And it was challenging, but I really enjoyed working with people and making a difference in my business. And I'd always wanted to be in law enforcement, and I took those strategies and objectives that I learned in the private industry, and I decided that, you know what, maybe I can make this into something else and help provide on the public side of it as well. So I put myself through the academy, and I got hired right away by the City of Fountain Valley. And I've been a police officer for the City of Fountain Valley ever since. This is the only department that I've ever worked for.
Wow. How many years is that now?
I've been working for the City of Fountain Valley for 24 and a half years.
Wow. That's a long time. A lot has changed in the city, I'd assume, since you first started.
Yes, I remember coming here, and mobile computers were just coming into the police cars, and I was the boot coming in, and I didn't get one. I was the last one in the pecking order, and for a couple years, I was the guy scratching those calls for service on a notepad in my car, and I'm actually thankful for that because it helped guide me in that direction of listening to what was coming over the radio, not relying on the computer screen that was sitting in front of me. Now, fast forward, our workforce doesn't carry those notepads on their front seat anymore, and they rely on that computer screen to guide them to those calls for service. But the data that's coming out, the technology to support that is in a much better place today.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. So technology has changed a lot. How about the city itself?
Yeah, the city's population continues to grow. We continue to see advances in the way that we present and provide public service to the community and in a forward direction. And I'm pleased to be part of that direction moving forward. I recall when I was a kid living here in the city of Fountain Valley, that Miles Square Park was just a big open dirt space. The housing tracks next to you were open dirt spaces, and we used to ride our bikes and play around in those areas. And now they're fully developed, and it is a full-service city that is great to live in.
Yeah, I remember when that was the airfield in the center of Miles Square Park back in the day. We've both been here a long time, I guess.
Yes, I've lived here since 1972 when we came across the United States, and we settled in Fountain Valley, and I've been here ever since.
Yeah, there's got to be something about, you know, being the chief of police in the town that you grew up in. There's got to be a sense of pride there.
It really is, and I'll be honest with one of the reasons why I became police chief was when I got up into upper management, I started having those opportunities to do coffee with people and meet more of the community leaders. And when I'd walk into a coffee location or restaurant, I started recognizing that I was being inundated with people that I knew and always wanted to ask me a question or give me their insight on what was going on. And that's one of the reasons why I became police chief, was my connection with the community. It was at a highest level. And that's kind of one of those things that that excites me a little bit. I know when I'm walking into a Starbucks or another coffee facility in town, I'm going to get inundated with people that pull me aside. And I love spending the time and to help share our message with the community and what the police department's doing or what the city's doing.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, I can kind of relate to that. There's many times I walk in through the grocery store and get asked a question or two, so I can relate to that. But there's a sense of reward with that as well. I'm sure you feel that too, to be able to know that people care and generally the questions are pretty good ones, I would assume, that relative to what's going on in our community.
Yeah, I look at it as a perfect opportunity to engage with members of the public and help share the message and help develop that continuous trust, because that's what law enforcement is all about. That's what people want. They want to make sure that they can trust their police department. What better opportunity to speak with somebody right in the heat of the moment or the spur of the moment and share that message.
Yeah, and you do such a great job with that too. I see you at all the different activities throughout, the city, even the extracurricular activities of the different events, et cetera, and you participate. So we appreciate that. You do great jobs, Chief. We really do appreciate that.
Well, I appreciate that. I'll make sure that I share that sentiment with my wife, because she's always on me about my schedule.
I can relate to that one as well. My wife has the same concerns about time. But let's talk about the structure of the police force, if we could. Maybe you could outline like how many police officers we have and how that's broken up.
Yeah, I'm slated for 64 full-time police officers, and I can overhire one with approval by the city manager. We also have 10 full-time dispatchers and 22 22 non-sworn full-time officers, and then a handful of part-time employees, and then I believe we're at about 75 volunteer positions that are attached to the police department. And the structure of the police department is broken into two different divisions. One is the patrol side. That's the primary bread and butter for what you're seeing in the community, the police officers rolling around in the streets. And with that, we have a full-service traffic bureau with a couple motor officers and also a traffic investigator. And then on the support services side, we have our investigations bureau that is managed by a lieutenant and a captain, and our dispatch center, comm center, falls underneath there as well. And we have a full-service CSI bureau that goes along with it. And then on the business side of it also, we have a full staff that hires police officers, does internal affairs investigations, and so that's managed by the support services side.
Wow, that's amazing how many different aspects of the police department. Somebody who doesn't know in the community, you see the police officer in the car and doing patrol, and you think that's it, but there's so much more to it. So that's amazing. So you mentioned CSI. So how is the TV show CSI and what we have in the department? What kind of capabilities do we have?
Well, it's not Hollywood. This is one of the areas where we've seen a significant change in law enforcement from when I started to where we are right now. And I'll tie it to the footprint of the building, the police department building. The space required in 2000 for our crime scene investigation unit, it housed 2 persons, and there was equipment all over the area that required individual manipulation by personnel. Fast forward to today, everything is on a computer. There's no more. It's very, very limited equipment that is necessary for that type of an operation. Even the DNA collection, everything's coming in on a computer basis with some other ancillary areas that we touch on a regular basis. So the footprint decreased almost 75%.
Oh, interesting.
And so, that was one of the areas we were able to capitalize on in making an improvement to my building. So, the CSI it's not what you see in the movies. We don't get a chance to do a do-over. We got to get it right the first time. We are not the only part of the crime scene investigation. We also utilize the Orange County Sheriff's Department for their services as well. And also we have connections with the state DOJ's office and also our federal partners. So we're very robust in what is available to the city of Fountain Valley, and we utilize all those resources on a regular basis. Coupled with when one of our peer agencies or partners need something, we share resources. And vice versa. When we need something from one of our partners, they are right there to help us out.
That makes a lot of sense. You mentioned also that you have 75 volunteers. I assume you mean the RSVP program? Maybe you could touch on that.
Yes, I have the RSVP program. We actually just recruited the new class of 2024. We had 6 individuals that came through, and they just completed 2 weeks of extensive training, and they're continuing that training with a current RSVP out in the field. They're an ancillary assignment of the police department. I look at our RSVPs as the ambassadors for the city of Fountain Valley. We cannot do what we do without them. They're out there to talk to the members of the public and help share our story, help share our mission, plus with some additional responsibilities. They do all of our enforcement for handicap violations throughout the city. They also do all of our vacation checks throughout the city. So if a member of the public is getting ready to go on vacation, call the police department and ask to get yourself on that RSVP vacation check. You'd be surprised at what we run into and what that actually does for the community. But other responsibilities that the RSVPs do is internal station processes that take a lot of time. And to be honest with you, I don't have the personnel to do it all. And we use that through a volunteer basis.
Yeah.
A couple other assignments for volunteers. I have a chaplains that are part of our program. They're there to help the members of the public through difficult times, and also to provide guidance and support for our police officers, and really just to be there as an anchor. I can't tell you how many times I've had over my career those over-the-hood conversations with our chaplains that help guide and shape and mentor me through challenging times and help getting me to the next level. Also, we have the RACEs that are a big part of our organization, Radio Amateur Civil. I don't remember what the E stands for, but they're housed in the back of my building, and they meet on a regular basis. And when something happens in our community, whether it be locally, nationally, or wide scale, and communication lines break down, they're the individuals that are going to be able to come in and keep the communication rolling.
I see them at different events like Summerfest and some of the other events. You could see the races with E as emergency, maybe? I don't know, guessing. Maybe.
Yeah, probably.
Probably, anyway. So they do a great job, and they help out at different events. I always see them there, and great that we have so many wonderful volunteers.
There's one more, and I if I forget this one, I'm never going to hear the end of it. It's our Neighborhood Watch. We originally started out with Neighborhood Watch as a very wide-scale program, and with the use of computers, we scaled it down. But we still have 2 members attached to our Neighborhood Watch that provide a significant amount of time and effort in putting information out related to Neighborhood Watch. Whenever we have a community engagement opportunity, they're right there scheduling it and making sure that we're getting officers out there to sit side by side our Neighborhood Watch people to help drive information forward to the community.
Wow. I mean, you just talked about, between regular officers, volunteers, et cetera. I mean, that's a few hundred people. You have a pretty big department.
It's a big department. It's not a few hundred. It's a little over 100, not more than 2, but we make it work.
That's awesome. So being the police chief, I can imagine just some of the challenges that you face as a department. What are some of the challenges that you have?
Well, I think there's a couple right on the tip. Crime suppression. Nothing irritates me more than to see crime occur over and over and over again, and that's what we're seeing. The initiatives that have come from our state legislators up in Sacramento, Prop 47 and AB 109, you're not seeing the aggressive enforcement. I'm sorry, the aggressive sanctions put on these individuals, and the low-level offenders are getting off with absolutely nothing. And it's very frustrating to see it occur over and over and over again. So when you see repeat offenders pop up on a daily basis, it just frustrates the heck out of me. So our goal is to I call it crushing crime. We're going to take every opportunity to put forward measures and means and keep the cops on the street to help reduce those impacts to our community. We've got a very aggressive district attorney in our county. Just look at the billboards that have popped up all over the place.
I saw that.
You do the deed in the county of Orange, and you're going to be held criminally liable for it. He does not take criminal acts very lightly, and he's a huge supporter for law enforcement. So just in general, criminal acts that are impacting the residents, it bothers me, and we're taking every initiative to do selective enforcement opportunities to thwart that activity. We work with our partners on a regular basis, both city to city and county and at the state level, to thwart the criminal activity, the nefarious activity that is occurring in our city.
All right, well, let's pivot here just a second and change subjects. One of the areas that I would think you spend a lot of time on that is just, again, maybe frustrating is the unhoused population that we have in our city and what we can and we can't do with the unhoused. So maybe you could talk about CityNet and what they're providing and what the city is trying to do in this regard.
Yeah. So before I get to CityNet, let's to put it in perspective. We're always asked, well, why can't you just go arrest the person for sitting on the sidewalk and blocking the sidewalk, or just being present, being homeless? So it's not a crime to be unhoused. It's not a crime to be homeless. We cannot criminalize it. And what happened with the two cases, it set the standard for homelessness, and it was Boise, Idaho, and Grants Pass.
Right. And
so essentially, you cannot criminalize homelessness. And if you do any type of enforcement with your camping ordinance, anti-camping ordinance, you have to have the availability of bed shelter, accessible bed shelter. And so that a lot of cities didn't have or don't have immediate access in their city, dedicated to their city for shelter service. So if you go towards enforcement and you don't have the available bed service, available bed space, you're going to run into a problem. And we don't want to go down that road because it's not going to work out for either one, either the city or the individual. So the city we took on a position of let's use the compassionate approach. Let's use education as a tool to help drive forward a decrease in homelessness in the city of Fountain Valley. So we provide every opportunity to give persons access to the services that the city has. And one of the areas where we were not in compliance, well, not compliance, but having the best opportunity out there for success was we didn't have a homeless shelter. Right. So we're utilizing the county resources that are just outside of our city to help house and navigate persons into the homeless system. So, and then you asked about CityNet. So CityNet is a resource that we started seeing pop up in other areas of the county, and there was some success with it. So we looked at it, and we ended up contracting with CityNet. And so they're a outreach and engagement company contractor, vendor, whatever you want to call them, that is dedicated to the city of Fountain Valley. We have CityNet resources 5 days a week that are driving around in the city of Fountain Valley, speaking with our unhoused population, going to calls for service with our police officers when there's calls for service related to the unhoused population. And they are there to provide resources and guidance and connection to the unhoused population to get them to help move them into making better decisions, help improve their quality of life, and get them connected to the county healthcare system, which ultimately gets them into a shelter and off the street. CityNet, I know you're going to ask me the question, why CityNet? They're a one-stop shop operation, and we're very happy with the services that they have provided over the years with the city of Fountain Valley.
Well, maybe we can touch a little bit more on CityNet then. So what services are they providing today? What are they doing when they go out there? And what happens when somebody who's unhoused says, I don't want help, leave me alone? What do we do?
Yeah, so there's two questions. And the first one, CityNet will go out in the community and make first contact with individuals that are unhoused or somebody who's just walking along, and they'll be there and engage with conversation and try and identify, do they need assistance? Do they need resources? It may be just give them a bottle of water and help develop that relationship for a future contact. It may be that they can't access certain government services because they don't have an identification card. Right. And CityNet will provide all of the necessary documentation, help guide them to get them the necessary documentation, even take them to the necessary, whether it be the Department of Motor Vehicles or the Social Security Office, to get them the documents that they need so that they can start accessing the services that are out there for them. And then at the next level was interacting with the police officers. When the police officers are out handling a call for service and they run into somebody who just needs an extra something, whatever it is, CityNet's there. They have the resources and the funding to help get that person to that next level, and then our officers can move on to the next call for service. And CityNet will take over and ultimately try and get them connected to services.
And what happens, again, when somebody absolutely refuses services?
Well, in order to, for the police officers who are out there for a call for service, if the individual doesn't want help, we can't force the help upon them. If CityNet is out and engaging with individuals, they do it on a voluntary basis. They can't force someone to take services.
Yeah,
so
that's the difficult part.
Sometimes we have to walk away from a situation, and it's very hard to take. But we have certain laws that we can't break. We can't. There's such thing as called the amendments, and we can't infringe upon those rights.
Yeah, that's absolutely. Well, let's talk. You mentioned about beds in Navigation Center. Can you touch on what the city of Fountain Valley is doing in terms of a Navigation Center?
Yeah, I talked a little bit about it already, and that's if you don't have a shelter dedicated to your city, you cannot enforce your camping ordinance. So we've been utilizing the county resources and other our partner resources over the years for connection to bed services, and we've been successful getting persons connected to those locations. But what was really missing was the connection for the city of Fountain Valley to have an established navigation center connected to our city.
Right.
And what the city did a couple of years ago, we went into negotiations with the city of Garden Grove and the city of Westminster, because those two cities, or all three cities, did not have navigation centers connected to their community. So we went in partners with those the other two cities, and we are in the process of standing up our own navigation center. It's called the CCNC, Central Cities Navigation Center, that's expected to open here in mid-year. And what that does is the city of Fountain Valley now has 13 beds that are assigned specifically to the city of Fountain Valley. And it's just going to open up those opportunities that sometimes we miss when the other shelters are full. And so we have a dedicated bed, and nobody's going to take that away from us. That's the city of Fountain Valley. And so if we have an opportunity where someone wants to accept services and come off the street and go into a facility, we need to seize that opportunity. And this is just another tool that's going to give us that ability to do that.
Yeah, it's a great partnership with the other cities, and that's going to be located in the city of Garden Grove, correct?
That's correct. It's just north of the city of Fountain Valley, up on West Street. It's in a commercial zone that's actually zoned for that type of activity, and so it's a great facility. I toured it a couple times already, and we're really looking forward to the opening of it.
Yeah, I know the ribbon cutting is coming up. Just a couple of months, so it's getting close. That's good. Anything else that you want to add on unhoused, or anything we can or can't be doing, or residents can or can't do?
Routinely, we continuously get calls for service regarding our unhoused population, and I'm fortunate to say that over the last 3 years, the trend has been going down slightly on the calls for service. I take that with a grain of salt. Maybe we're just doing a better job at providing services, or maybe just the public's just not calling anymore. I'm not sure, but I do like to see that trend going in a negative direction on the calls for service. But that being said, if the members of the public see something that's just not right, they need to call us. Give us the opportunity to go out and engage, because maybe what you're witnessing is somebody who has never been connected to the system, and they may need some help that day. And what greater opportunity than to put those who have all the tools and resources to connect that individual to the proper agencies.
Yeah, and we have resources on our website as well for CityNet, so we'll make sure that we put that up on the screen so the residents have the ability to connect in and see the easiest way to connect with CityNet.
Yeah, Mayor Grandis, we put together a fact sheet for our unhoused population and what's the city doing about it, and that is what you're talking about. The resources, all of those are available. The resources available on that simple sheet. So just visit our website, and you'll be educated on what the city of Fountain Valley is doing.
Okay, well, I appreciate all that information. Let's talk about your department again. So how are we staff-wise? Are we hiring? Are we looking for folks? And if somebody wants to be a police officer, what do they do?
I'll take them. Yes, we're hiring right now. We're hiring for police officers, police dispatch, and the entry-level police cadets. We've had some pretty good success over the years in farming from our entry-level positions, the non-sworn positions, and getting them squared away and into the police academy. We're currently staffed for 64 sworn officers, and we're down 10 positions right now. But I just had 2 officers that the city of Fountain Valley put through the police academy, so they're in their training phase right now. I have another individual that was homegrown, and he's over at the police academy as well. It's sponsored for the city of Fountain Valley. We just brought on a lateral officer. We have another lateral in the chute. We just had entry-level a police officer testing over the weekend. We have several candidates that were successful, and they're going to go on to the next level. In a perfect world, if I could hire every single one of them, I'd only be down 3 officers. But it just takes a while to get through that. Same thing with our dispatchers. It's another area that's very hard to recruit for. It's just the training side of it is very long and intensive, and we've we've had some really good success over the years, and we've got several candidates that are in the shoot for that one as well. I hope to fill that position as quickly as possible.
Yeah, well, it definitely takes a special person to be a police officer. I was at one of the police officer events, and I made the comment, I would make a horrible police. I'm not brave enough. You guys, you're the men and women of the force put their lives on the line every day. And one thing for the city that we want to make sure of, and that I strive for as mayor, is to make sure that every officer gets home to their family at night. So maybe you could talk a little bit about the equipment and the investment that we do to make sure that happens.
Yeah, I got to say that I need to go back just a little bit. When I started this job way back when, I did it because I wanted to make a difference, because I wanted to be part of the community that I grew up in and be that change agent. And I still look at that same contract that I signed with my wife that I carry around all the time. Those same principles still play forward. And throughout my career, I've always had the belief that law enforcement is the most noble profession out there. And I'm choosing my words very carefully. Noble and profession. It's not a job. This is a profession. This is a career that you engage in where you want to help people. And if you forget that along the way, somebody's going to need to kick you back over that line. And I still believe that this is the most noblest profession out there, period. If you want to be a police officer and you want to come in and work for my shop, you better have the right mindset. And we want you.
That's wonderful.
Okay. So what was your question again?
What was my question? The equipment and making sure everybody gets home safe every night.
Yeah, so that's one of the key principles that keeps me awake every night, is making sure that everybody gets home safe at night. And the way we manage that is to make sure that we're providing the best opportunity for our people to be successful. And that starts off with training. The state of California requires every peace officer in the state to have a minimum of 24 hours of advanced officer training every 2 years. That's nothing. So we exceed that. We have the budget to keep driving advanced officer training forward. And our personnel, they're encouraged to take every opportunity at engaging with that training, not only to get better at what they do, the hands-on stuff, de-escalation, but looking at long-term goals and objectives and where they want to go in their career. How is that training going to be beneficial to them? So I'm all about providing the latest and greatest training to our personnel, and I seize every opportunity to get them to engage with that. We have the funding for it, and we utilize that funding every year to make sure they're getting what they need. And then on the equipment side, our stuff wears out on a regular basis and technology changes. We need to make sure that we're providing adequate funding and opportunities to engage in every aspect of providing the best equipment for our people at every cornerstone when the industry turns. Technology has continued to change over time, and we're seeing that hit in law enforcement as well. So not only did we get computers in cars, but now we have mobile fingerprint readers. The radio that I'm wearing on my hip right now, I can talk to any law enforcement officer in the county of Orange at any given time. They can hear me when I'm broadcasting something that's going down in my city, and I'm about ready to go into another city's jurisdiction. Or let's just say I'm in South County and I'm at a business event and something happens right in front of me. I can turn that radio on and talk to the officer who's a mile away from me. Nowhere else in the United States does that system is it replicated. The county of Orange has a very robust system that is a model for all of law enforcement to follow. So technology, we've changed with it. The fingerprint scanners that we're utilizing out in the field, that's all technology. and we're moving with it. You're going to see a drone program. The police department already has a drone program, but we're buying more of them because they've been so useful. So you're going to see that coming forward before council at the May 7th meeting. So that's just a snapshot of the technology side and the equipment you're seeing come before the police officers. And it's all about suppressing crime and getting better at what we do in the realm of law enforcement.
You mentioned the drones. That's a great partnership with some of our nonprofits in our community. I understand the Summerfest Committee, Community Foundation, and I believe it's a chamber or one other, all chipping together to help fund that, to make sure that you do have the best equipment. So it's a good partnership.
Yes, it is. And our personnel really appreciate that. And to be able to put forward brand new drones that are coming out and being available for our personnel to use on a regular basis. Let's look at it like this. Middle of the night, you get a burglary call up on at Ralph's, and you know they're closed, and you know the alarm came from the roof, or it came from one of the doors. Well, we're going to want our officers to check the roof to make sure that there was no entry or exit through the roof. Commercial buildings are very tall, and we don't climb ladders like the fire department does. We love calling the fire department, waking them up in the middle of the night to come out and stand a ladder up for us, but they kind of give us a little bit of a tough time with that. But why not just pull the drone out of the back of the car and fly it overhead? And you reduce the risk of your employee getting injured. And,
that's the key.
And you also provide an access and an immediacy to thwarting a problem that is right in front of you.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, and again, the safety of our officers. I don't think there's a resident in Fountain Valley who would complain about the city investing in the right equipment to keep our officers safe. I think it's a fact.
Well, I appreciate that.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about something that maybe isn't as pleasant. Parking citations and enforcement of that. What do we have going on in our neighborhoods? You mentioned RSVP with the handicap spots, maybe around enforcement around the parks at night, et cetera.
Yeah, so we routinely get thrust into situations where persons are taking advantage of the public right-of-way. So you're allowed to park a lawfully registered vehicle on the public right-of-way, the public streets, for 72 hours. And anybody can do that. But the second you go over that, it becomes a violation. So you see some persons that are taking advantage of that. We also just came through COVID. I don't want to keep going back on COVID, but we slowed down on our enforcement activities because persons were staying home. You saw a decrease in street sweeping, which saw a decrease in issuing citations for street sweeping violations. We've since turned all that back on, and the enforcement activities have mirrored that. So we're just now, for a couple months, we've been fully staffed back in our traffic bureau. And I think it was a surprise for some of the residents for the street sweeping side of it when they started receiving citations. Not all areas received that immediacy in the enforcement operations coming online. And so there was some complaints regarding that. But since then, we've been able to turn everything back on. We're also seeing some of our commercial areas and also around our Mile Square Park turn into some long-term parking opportunities for certain individuals that take advantage of the system. Know that we're on top of this, and if you're out there taking advantage of the rules of the road, the parking enforcement, municipal code sections, we're going to give you a ticket. And if your car is parked there for more than 72 hours and it's become a nuisance, we're going to tow that car.
Okay. Well, I appreciate the feedback, and it does make sense, during COVID, not to enforce to the level that we will go back to now. So, all right. Well, anything else you want to bring up? The old, if you see something, say something, and what's the best way to communicate that?
I think you nailed it on the head, Mayor. If you see something, say something. The law enforcement officers, they can't be everywhere all the time. We're only stretched so far, and sometimes we're thin, but the eyes and ears of the community is what we rely on. If you see something that is out of the ordinary, those spidey senses that are there, they're there for a reason. So I encourage you to act on that. I encourage all residents to act on that. Call us and let us figure out what it is. We're the professionals. We're the ones that do this on a regular basis. So why would I ask you to go out there and ask a person why they're in the neighborhood? I can't do that. I would never do that. Call us and let us figure it out. So what this does is it gives our officers an opportunity to stop somebody and engage in consensual activity because somebody has called us about that. And the difference is the officer driving through a residential neighborhood or driving through a commercial area in the middle of the night, they see somebody in front of them, they drive up and they engage in consensual activity. Is very limited scope of where we can go. But now I've just had a community member call me and say, hey, you might want to check this guy out. This is what I'm seeing. I've got a lawful reason to slow the situation down and figure out what I have in a very small window of opportunity. And 9 times out of 10, the public's right.
Yeah.
And so if we take that out of the equation, we miss the amount of people that we can contact. And I'd much rather have somebody call and it be wrong and okay, thank you, go on your way, and versus the other side where we turn it into a lawful investigation and inevitably end up with an arrest.
Okay. Well, I want to make a comment here. So I did a ride-along a few months ago with one of your officers, patrol officers, and I was just amazed at the caring they had for our community. It happened to be an officer who grew up in Fountain Valley, and the pride level that this person had for our community and the caring, like, this is my city. Like, I'm here to protect my city. It was just wonderful. And we had a few stops while we were out there. And the level of backup with the officers working together with other officers, again, to make sure that they're safe, was just incredible. So I saw it firsthand, and it was really appreciated.
Well, thank you. I really appreciate those comments, and my staff is just incredible, and I can't thank them enough for what they do for the community on a day in, day out basis. And from the bottom of my heart, thank you guys, men and women of the FVPD, for doing what you do. You are the backbone of providing a safe environment for persons to live, work, and visit. So thank you very much for what you do. I do got to give a shout out. It is Telecommunications Week. So our dispatchers are being celebrated all week long, and I'm happy to be a part of that. So if you see or have an in to one of the dispatchers, just say thank you. And to the members of the public, if you see one of my police officers that are out there, just say hi. They'd love to sit and chat with you and thank them for what they do. We really appreciate when we have that positive interaction with the members of the public, and we'd love to spend that 5-10 minutes with you and just and sharing what it is that we do and help guide the message being delivered to the public.
Excellent. Well, one thing I always like to say as mayor is whether you live, work, or play in the city of Fountain Valley, we want you to feel welcome, safe, and included. And thanks to our FVPD, that safe part is there. So thank you for joining us today.
Thank you. And I trust that we're going to put all of our outreach numbers up.
Yeah, we'll have that on the screen.
How to reach the police dispatch, how to reach or a non-emergency, and then if you see something, say something, and don't be afraid to use the 911 system. It's there for a reason.
Excellent. Thank you, Chief. So if you're interested in a subject matter for us to discuss in the future, be sure to reach out to us via email at fvproud@fountainvalley.gov. So I'm your mayor, and this has been episode 4 of A Nice Place to Podcast. I hope you find this informative and enjoyed it. Again, I'm your mayor, Glenn Grandis. We'll see you next time.